Today I am starting off strong because I am out inside of the lava plains. And I'm after a very specific thing because we have to fight the Wither today. Somehow we have to come across a Wither skeleton skull. Now that part I don't think is going to be that big of a problem, but what I do see being a problem, well, is going to be actually killing the Wither. I think we're strong enough, and we might be able to prep up some ways to hopefully help us conquer this guy. But yeah, oh boy, I've got to get myself a Wither skeleton skull first, and then we can replicate it. Now, I'm definitely not going to say that was an easy task, nor do I feel comfortable with flames around me. Yeah, that's definitely still a problem right now. But I do notice here now I can actually replicate that Wither skull. And I'm hoping that we only need one to do this. So far, it's only been the need for one item to be able to replicate it. But being able to replicate a Wither skeleton skull is going to be pretty nice. And I can make, what, 3 of them? So we can hopefully get our Nether Star, and we can also replicate that bad boy. Oh, but actually getting our first Nether Star, yeah, that's going to be a thing in itself. It is so cool, though, watching this just replicate Wither skeleton skulls. What even is this? That's so cool looking. Look at it. There it went. They may be wondering, why exactly do I need a Nether Star? Well, it says the power of the end is what we need right here. And an Ender Star is part of this process. Now, we are going to need quite a bit from the Nether, and it looks like a bunch of Ender Pearls. Thankfully, we have all of those things, including Blaze Automation. But to actually make the star itself requires an actual Nether Star. And yes, getting the Nether Star, there's a couple different ways, actually. It looks like an overcharged crystal and netherite could get us this without actually needing to fight anything. But it also means we need a particle accelerator, and I think that kind of defeats what we're actually going for right now. So, yes, I think we are going to need to potentially take on this bad boy. That's going to be a process in itself. Yeah, I don't think I ended up getting this. It is a 5.16 out of a pulsating crate, but I don't know where pulsating crates are. It does say the Rift. Ah, okay. So yeah, this is not something that we have access to. Or at least it doesn't appear that way. But of course, you can let me know down in the comments below. I do appreciate all of the tips you guys have been giving. Something interesting to note, by the way, that has changed in the pack. I love how I mentioned something in an episode, and then a couple of updates later, bam, we now have something that wasn't in the pack prior. So for example, with Applied Energistics, we now have Extended AE, which we didn't originally have. And Extended AE adds a lot of functionality to the Applied Energistics system, including the ability to make void cells, which make the process of actually gaining singularities a lot faster. But that just assumes that, well, like the infinite water cell and stuff hasn't been removed. And I don't know if it has. It looks like it's the similar normal recipe. So yeah, we do have an infinite water cell. So actually making singularities, like you guys have been saying in the comments, it's going to be kind of null and void because making singularities with that mod is absolutely easy sauce. I'm talking like you will have millions of singularities within a few seconds because of the way that mod works. But anyways, that's besides the point. I just wanted to mention that we do have some cool ways now to generate things with Applied Energistics. Of course, I still have my eyes set on completing, or at least getting through this quest line right here, the Under Pressure. And it's going to take a little bit of time. Like I said, the Nether Stars is something that I'm currently working on. And now that we can go ahead and fight the Wither because we have all of the skulls, we now need to come up with a solution for how do we fight this thing and fight it successfully. And honestly, I think a good way to do this is going to be by making tinted glass. Now, tinted glass's recipe has been changed, and it's not as easy as you might think. And we really need a pretty decent amount of tinted glass, but we need blaze ember to be able to do this. And making blazing ember is not as easy as it may seem straightforward. This does require a lot of coal. I think we have a lot of coal, but we need to set up some sort of automation for this. Otherwise, it's going to feel really, really grindy. Now, this is going to be a pretty straightforward solution to this problem. So I'm going to need my goo to be placed one block out. So I'm just going to place a temporary coal block, for example, right here. And then the goo will go just like so. And then we're going to need some simple placers to just simply place a block in the direction that it is facing. So it's just going to place a block. Like, for example, if I put coal in here, it should just place the coal perfectly right where we want it. Now, I do want these two right here, these two machines, to receive the coal. So I'm going to put the coal in there, and then the top and the bottom are going to be a little bit different. And I am going to need some power for the way we're going to break this, which I think I'm going to put the breaker right here. That is going to break all of our components. So we'll come back to this in a second. This is going to need power though. But whenever this does get broken, for example, when this does its conversion and gets broke, essentially what needs to happen is I need to then fill this simple block placer here with the results of this, but we are going to need it to be compressed into block form. So this is where we're going to need, we're going to need to do this in an interesting way, I think. Now, when thinking about this problem, I was like, you know what? Something that could craft real easy is just a EnderIO crafter. This also has the ability to send items out. So let's go ahead and tell it what to craft. I'm going to go ahead and get these items converting. These are going to go ahead and start. And then inside of here, I have a capacitor. I am going to need to lead it some power. But in the GUI, what I want is I want it to push the product after we set the recipe. I want it, once it's finished crafting, I want it to send that crafted product into the simple block placer up top. And then what I'm going to have down here are these 3 blocks converting. Now, once they convert, we need to break them. So to be able to break the primal coal, this is where we'll use that advanced breaker. And this is where we need to tell it essentially what to break. Thankfully, inside of here with just higher things, we can drag our filter. So this is the raw primal coal, and we'll set that to allow and say, hey, only break this primal coal. And then we can set the actual area that we want it to break in. So if I move this over, let's see, it needs to go not this direction, but over this way. And then I expand it out a little bit. You can see it just broke the primal coal, which is perfect. That's what we want it to do. And it looks like I expanded this out wrong, right? Maybe not take it out that far on the sides, actually. There we go. Perfect. So this is like the perfect range. And you can see it is already harvesting that primal coal, but I need to send it into here. So I think on the face of the machine, I'm going to set this to pull just to make sure it can accept. And then I'll use an item collector. And what I want the item collector to do is just pick up this coal and send it here. And that's another cool thing that the item collector can do. It can just pick up items within its range. And yeah, we just have to define that range, right? So I'm just going to set the GUI down like so. And yeah, the GUI thing is the weirdest part. You just kind of have to fiddle with it until you get it correct. And I think it was like this area. And then I might even want to make this a little bit larger. And then also we can say, hey, to only make sure and allow it to pick these items up. And hopefully it can automatically send it in here. I'm going to need to define my recipe like this, and then there it goes. Now it's allowing the items to go in. Beautiful. That's what we want to see. And I'll grab the rest of it here. Nice. And yeah, I'm probably going to need to set this tick rate all the way down to 1 to make sure it's fast enough to pick it up. But there it goes. So now it's crafting, and you can see it also just sent that block of primal coal, and that should now be converted. And we probably want to add that to another collector. And like I said, this is a very like early like solution to this problem. But yes, this should get all of this done. So long as this keeps powered in the middle here, which it just ran out. And as soon there we go. There's our blazing ember. So now over here, I just need to add the blazing ember that will then get broken. And then down here, I have this set up to only collect the blazing ember. And so we should just see blazing ember slowly but surely building up. I might though be running into a problem where this doesn't have a buffer that'll be able to contain more than just one of these. Yeah, so I might be better off maybe having a barrel here that this is collecting to, and then the crafter essentially pulling the items in from a barrel. It's always trial and error with stuff like this. What will help a little bit though is being able to use the machine copier so I can copy the settings, including the filters that are inside of this. And whenever I do place a barrel here, I should be able to easily place the barrel, and then I can just place this back down and then paste the settings in, and then I just need to move this backwards one. So I don't know what offset that is. this one. There we go. Now I just made a simple clicker. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. I think this does need to be rotated. Let's see. Can I use this wrench to rotate? I might have to use the one from Just Tire Things. Maybe a quartz wrench actually might work. Nope. Definitely need to go with the Ferrocore one. Perfect. So now I've gotten the clicker rotated. Now this is a little bit weird. We can have it target a block, target air, target hostile. I think we want it to just target the block, and set the timer here. I'm not really detecting anything, but I don't think it's going to honestly matter. If I set the side to the side that we're looking at, so for example, this is to the west, I think this will target the west face of the block. I think that's how that's defined. So we actually want to do the opposite. So I think east is the way we want this. And so this, by default, will just try every 20 ticks to check this, but we could use a sensor to sense this location and sense the state of the actual target. And you can tell it whether or not to sneak click or what have you. I think we just want it to right click. But the problem is like, is it just going to constantly throw it? Okay, it is going to throw it. So this actually might be the best. We actually might be better off using a sensor here. Now this is really starting to look like a jumble of machines, but that's because I have not set up wireless power just yet. Which is something I definitely want to do, but here we go. Here's our advanced sensor. And what I want to do here is I just want to back this up a little bit. So let's back it up till it's in the middle. And then I need to move this over one right here. We need to set this to pulse. So only work when it receives a pulse. The side really doesn't matter. We just want to basically check something, and that is going to be the goo. So we are going to specifically check, and on the allow list, the goo here, and right click, Control O to remove this. And we're going to set it to when it's not alive. So when it has not received or basically dies out, we want it to send a pulse. This should send a pulse, I believe, by default, and should do that. So whenever this dies out, that should receive a redstone signal. We should be able to check this by placing it here. I always like to check my redstone just to make sure. And we can see, okay, as of right now, it is receiving a strong signal. It's really hard for me to know. Is this died out? So it has died out. Okay, so this has sent a signal, which means that that should send a pulse. I might actually need to toggle this. There it goes. It just received the pulse, meaning this now worked, and it hasn't sent another one, and this is now off. So with all of this set up, that should now be automated. As weird as that may sound, and I hope I didn't speed through that too fast, the sensor is such a cool block because you can control the redstone in such a compact form factor. But this right here, I mean, should constantly keep producing the blaze ember, as you can see there. Beautiful. Something to note about this setup, by the way, no, Fortune is not going to help with this situation. It's not true. The books, and Dyer specifically, has said, nope, Fortune does not help your amount that you get out of these. You know what? For a temporary setup, I mean, it looks pretty good. Now, I did want to show you something pretty cool about this. So, like, making this blazing ember, the blaze ember is, like, not something that you would typically want to overlook, because the higher tier you go up with this, the more power this fuel generator is actually going to produce. So that also goes for the liquid fuels, which are the liquid versions of these, and or the actual fuel itself. Now this is the liquid burner, but to be able to show off, which typically would be in here, I think it's been disabled, we can actually burn this inside of here. And so you can see this has a multiplier of 1, but whenever this is in here, it's a multiplier, or sorry, this is a 4. This is a multiplier of 1. So we can essentially say this is 60 times 4, and that is basically what our RF output would be. And I mean, technically these pocket generators are still the fuel generators from in here, just not as easily automatable. You can essentially fill these up with fuel, and then you could put them inside of a, I don't know, for example, like a energy hopper. And I do believe that the energy hopper will actually extract the energy out of the pocket generators. Just something that I wanted to mention. Yeah, it's a neat little thing. Now looky there, we have this, and this is so much easier just letting this run than it is to do it by hand. I can tell you that. I would be punching myself to if I was needing to do that by hand. So we can now use this along with glass to make some tinted glass. And I've got to figure out how much we're going to need. I do want a decent space for this, as it is pretty dangerous doing this in our base. But I guess this room is actually perfect for this, because we do need this interior space and the upper area to be set up for this. Actually, you know what? I might have to change this entire tube here to be a little bit different, right? Because I typically like to have a 5x5 space inside of here to be able to farm the wither, because if you make a 3x3, you're risking that wither essentially escaping, and that can be pretty dangerous. So yeah, I essentially want an interior space of 5x5, meaning this is a 7x7 I'm essentially turning this room into, which does actually fit perfect because the interior of this is the perfect size for this particular farm. I just had to close in this front face, and then I've added a back glass here just to make sure if the wither does happen to shoot something, it doesn't actually shoot all the way over here and blow up. Somehow, it shouldn't. We do have our stuff claimed, but just to make sure it doesn't blow this up. And the exchanging gadget, by the way, is super helpful with this process here. Now, I know I just made my temporal pouch, and I have a little bit of time on it now. If I actually go ahead and remove this, what I could do is I could use my pouch here. And this is where things can get a little bit hectic and crazy, but just to speed this up, this is, yeah, it would be a little bit faster if our pick was faster. Just ignore this for right now. I think that, yeah, that works. Oh no, that's too fast. And so after one round of accelerating, bam, this is looking good. And this is the perfect space to be able to spawn in a wither. But surviving, it's a different story. So I guess without further ado, we can go ahead and try this. Now, I do want to make sure this is within my claimed areas, which it is. And fingers crossed. You know what? I think a slash backup, probably a good idea here. Just to make sure, you never know. So perfect. Now with that done, let's go ahead and get our soul sand in as per normal. And I'm pretty sure the light is going to go out here. This, I guess it'll let us know if this is going to break our blocks or not, but it should not break this area right here. And I'm hoping it doesn't break this either. So I do have a bow. I have some arrows. That should be enough. I do have some amethyst crab meat to help me survive. Fingers crossed that we can kill this wither successfully. I'm going to stand back a little bit. Watch this bad boy spawn. All right. And... okay. Explosion. Done. And if I line myself up, there we go. I can actually start to shoot this guy and get him down. Oh, this is going to be a little easier than I thought. Okay. And then I can probably start hitting him here too. Yeah, this thing does a lot of damage. I just want to prevent the skulls from trying to come into here. And... oh, yeah, that was significantly easier than I thought. But now we have ourselves another star we can replicate. Withering Souls we cannot, and I think these are used for cruxes. And it looks like, ooh, it looks like enchanting as well. Mystical Enlightenment. Oh, you can make this way? Interesting. But yes, this right here is a star that we can now replicate. All of that work just to be able to put it into our replication pool. But it feels good to be able to do this. Now, this is going to cost basically some nether wart, and it's also going to cost ender pearls to be able to make it. So like 64 ender pearls, and it looks like a little bit of nether wart or netherrack is how we can actually make more of these. So now I'm able to put the chip storage in here, and of course the nether star. Oh, and it loads up, and we can now take out up to 29 nether stars. Ooh, I'm really liking this mod. Now, there was a new archive that we actually unlocked, which I definitely want to go ahead and grab here, and that's entry log number 9. Let's go ahead and take that, pop it into our receiver. Let's see if we can
Another ruin.
Hear a message.
This one comes with security, not people, not monsters, machines, big, ancient, and very aware of my existence. They didn't attack, which is a refreshing change of pace. No, they just watched. Their movements, their signals, everything about them screamed one thing, not hostility, fear. And if the creepy alien death robots are scared of something down here, I have some serious regrets.
Wait, did it just say death robot? The heck's a death robot? I don't want to do that. I mean, I've seen that movie. It didn't go so well. So I guess with all of this stuff out of the way, we're ultimately trying to make the skulk goo. And this allows us to make the Eclipse alloy ingots, but also allows us to make the Eclipse fuels and things that we're going to need, for example, to be able to make our first platinum. Thankfully, once we get our first platinum, it does have the ability to be replicated. So we just have to get it once and get our hands on it. And then it looks like we could eventually too make mystical agriculture seeds for it, possibly. But empowered rift seed. I mean, this stuff seems kind of crazy too. But this is all going to lead us into this flux gate, which gets us a little bit deeper into this mod, I believe, including a fragment forge. We also need to dive a little bit deeper into the Oritech, and that also means I probably should get this started. I have the adamant ingots already, so that's actually not a huge deal. These can be replicated as well. And I just made the Enderic compound last episode, and then the Echo shard. Echo shards, I think we have. Yes, we definitely have Echo shards. So we can definitely start putting these together, and I think we should start probably doing that now. That's what's going to allow us to make the laser beams in the future as well. So I'll go ahead and throw these items inside of the assembler, let that bad boy run for a little bit, and then start working on this, the power of the end. So we need to make the Ender Crafter and End Assembler. These things are not too hard to craft. We have plenty of the materials for them. It is, though, a interesting crafting operation. And that's because within a 7x7 of the Ender Crafter, we can place these things in. Now, by default, it tells us to have 2, but we can craft more than that. They just need to essentially wrap around this thing. So even if I was to place it here, for example, and I started to place these things in, yeah, they can look like this. They can be right up next to it, all just so long as it's within a 7x7 space. I think for right now, I'm just going to place it in here temporarily. And then I'm just going to add some of these nearby. And the more you add, the faster it will ultimately craft. So there we go. So that's 12 of them, which looks very reminiscent of a portal. And then inside is where we need to do our actual crafts. So we need to take that nether star, for example, and make ourselves an ender star. And so we need a couple of eyes of ender and a nether star. So just like this, and voila. And I believe, yep, everything will just start crafting, and it's just going to take time. Like I said, the more of the alternators that you have, the faster this thing will go. I think I called them accelerators earlier. I mean, they are accelerators. They essentially accelerate the crafting process. Do you know what? I want to believe that they're like tapping into like the end realm and they're like extracting. I'm sure there's like lore behind this, but still. Now it's just a waiting game. And there we go. Ender star complete. So now that we have this, we actually get given one as a nice gift. How nice of them to give me another one, because I needed 2 of them to be able to make the Shadow Pulse goo. And this is where things unlock. And remember, with the Shadow Pulse goo, by the way, we can make more of the Shadow Pulse goo, or at least we should be able to. Yes, through this recipe right here. So we can make a Void Shimmer and so on and so forth. And you can use the lower tier and level it up with the higher tier. So all of this can be duplicated. And there we go. Shadow Pulse goo, and just in time for an airdrop as well. I kind of wonder, like, is this airdrop going to have anything new? Have we hit another progression milestone? Oh, okay. Another acceleration, more seeds. I mean, I do want to get into mystical very, very soon. Okay, yeah, all of the stuff seems basically what we've been getting over the last couple episodes. Now this, however, is going to require Skulk. Thankfully, we do have Skulk to be able to power this up. And what I can do is I can go ahead and take my other goo that I currently have. I'll just go ahead and level those up. Because if we level up the goo to the higher tier, well, it essentially just makes it even faster. So yes, I think there's a 10% increase in speed for each tier up you go. And you know what? I can't complain too much about getting all of that free netherite from the ship drops, because this allows us to make the Eclipse alloy. Yes, netherite blocks. You can definitely tell this is modded. I couldn't imagine farming for these to be able to get access to this without having ways of generating netherite. Now, I always love to show how cool this looks with shaders off, so there we go. This is what the final stage looks like without shaders. Oh, it's so nice. And it's so quick too. This feels so much faster than all of the other ones. And especially when it's accelerated, it goes way, way, way faster. And when shaders are back on, it's back to its boring self. But here we go. We can go ahead and farm this up. And voila, we now have raw Eclipse alloy. Look at that. So just a little bit of smelting of this and we are ready to go. And voila, look at that. Okay, so what do we get from the request reward? Something good? Okay, an auxiliary processing chamber add-on. I have no idea what that is. I'm sure I'm going to learn about it though. Now I think we're almost there. We can almost make raw platinum, which is one of the major tiers basically done. However, to get this, we are going to need Eclipse Ember Fuel, which is not super duper easy. We already have the dust. Like this is really, really easy to get our adamant. I'm also making more of it right now. So how do we go about getting Eclipse Ember? The recipe in here, if you were to look at this, can be kind of confusing, but I do want to make this very, very clear. You essentially start with your base fluid, and you're going to need this sort of setup done for a lot of other materials. So you're going to need to level this up. Now, if you've been getting things via the quest book, you might already have all of the stuff needed. For example, I have most of this right here. I have the primal coal. I also have some void flame coal. And we have already made our blaze ember coal. And actually through my quest, I just got Eclipse Ember Fuel. If you don't already have these, it's essentially you taking this up, tiering it over and over and over again until you get to the top tier Eclipse Ember. Getting 7 of these is actually kind of wild that I just got out of the quest. But still, this is really, really nice, right? So we have all of this that we've leveled up, and then I can take a trapdoor. Since we're only going to be doing one for right now, I think this is not too bad to do. We can set it up just like this, and we need to grab some water. So a bucket of water should be more than fine. Oh, I do have a tank on me full of water. I guess I could go ahead and scroll this into bucket mode and then shift right click. There we go. That actually makes that really convenient. But that converted into ice. And it happens really fast. That is not actually what we want to happen. Instead, if we go to just dire things, it may not be actually water that we have to start with. That may have been modified. But the primal coal should be able to drip down into this. I'm going to have to take a look here. No, just as I suspected. It looks right here. Okay, so we have the polymorphic fluid, and that's what we're going to need. So we do need the polymorphic catalyst here. And we are going to need that water, but we're going to have to convert it. But we have to be quick about this. And it does look like the process doesn't even start at primal coal. It actually starts at the blaze. So we do have blue ice here. That's not exactly what we want. Instead, we want to toss this in and then toss this in until we get unrefined blaze fuel. This will then convert that blaze fuel. Of course, we can see it a little bit better if we don't have shaders on. Kind of ruins the whole thing. I really wish there was something. Maybe you guys know if there's a way of fixing this so that way we can see it with shaders on. But anyways, then we toss this in. That'll convert it into unrefined void flame fuel. Very cool. And then last but not least, it will then turn into this. And I have automated this in the past. In my last series, All the Mods 10, I did fully automate it. I don't know if that's going to be necessary here. We're going to have to wait and see. It was quite the process and required a ton of coal to be able to keep up with this process, but it wasn't too difficult to do. Just required a lot of dire machines. And there we go. There's our Eclipse Ember Fuel, just like that. I think we need a bucket of this, possibly. But there we go. There, we completed the quest. Now, fun note, last I checked, or at least this is how it was in the last pack, basically unmodified, this would generate about 4,000 RF per tick from that fuel generator. This stuff is crazy powerful. But to be honest, it also costs its weight in literal coal. And so I guess the next part is going ahead and making 2 platinum, because this is going to use half a bucket. If I go ahead and throw that in there, that is 2 full buckets. So 2 of these dust should convert down into our first bit of platinum, like I said. And if this was the intended method for full automation of platinum, my goodness, that's a lot. Now, without further ado, our raw platinum has entered the stage. Very, very nice. Oh, we get another bucket of fuel, actually. Okay, very nice. I'll save that for later. I do want to go ahead and get this cooked up. Actually, it may not be able to get cooked up that way. Oh wait, it does require the jar to be able to actually cook this. That makes sense. So yeah, just for one, go ahead and toss a campfire down here and I'll get that cooked up because we need to add it to our replication ASAP. And voila. Perfect. Platinum. That completed everything that we were needing, right? Yeah, looks like it. Wait a minute. Did I have platinum in my inventory this entire... Did we get platinum via airdrops and I didn't even realize it? What? Well, we still needed to satisfy the quest because there are dependencies and things like that, blah, blah, blah. But, all right, well, here we go. So perfect. With that, we are much, much closer to making our flux gate. Now, this is going to require a processing unit. Looks like it requires those carbon fiber strands and also the plastic sheets that we've been making. And I think this is going to lead us into the process of Oritech that is going to need to probably get automation started. We're probably going to need to actually start doing some automation stuff. And we're also going to need Fluxite, which is its own cool process of using a laser to literally fire at an amethyst geode. This is a really cool process. I did get to play around with this in a pack a little bit ago. But yes, this whole process is going to be pretty fun, I think. But with all this, I would actually like to get a much better solution going for managing our power and also getting more power set up. So I think it's about time to get started on these rooms and also getting into the power mod just to simply allow sending and receiving of power a little bit cleaner. And something else I want to check on over here, I did have these processing up. So there we go. We now have the EnderIO lenses and we have a few of those and a bit more plastic. I've been trying to keep up with all of my plastic as I hadn't fully automated it yet. But what do we get? Another amulet. Interesting. As much as I love the amulets, I haven't really found them to be amazing. But with that, I think that was progress. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, of course, be sure to smack that subscribe button if you haven't already. And well, give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. Hopefully you've been enjoying this series thus far. And of course, guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. But I do want to say a huge thanks to the supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks, by the way, is going to go out to Shaxon. Thank you so much, by the way, for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible. And guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And of course, now that we've made it this far, as always, thanks for watching.